All right, men, welcome to today's episode of Strong Men, Strong Marriages, The Grateful Flow, which is part of our Tools for a Better Marriage series from the book The Tools by Phil Stutz, Barry Michaels. So this is going to be something where, it's easy to find ourselves in that really negative spot when we're thinking about our marriage or our wife or with kids or with various things. So there's just a tool we can use to get out of it. Um, and yeah, been using it some myself, been enjoying it. Something that yeah, tunes us into God and what He's doing for us. And so I like it. My name is Mike Fraser, MD. I'm a psychiatrist and marriage coach. I help high achieving Christian men have more intimate marriages. So, some wins from guys in my program, the Strong Men, Strong Marriages program. Guys are having important conversations with their wives. Conversations that maybe they've been putting off for a while that they need to address. Get into win-wins. Guys are improving their physical connection, their physical intimacy with their wives. Always an important part of our marriages, right? Guys are writing their apology letters, getting those done, kind of owning their side. So it's easy to see all the things our wife's not doing, and it's easy to kind of blame her. But a big part of what we do in the program is seeing, okay, well, what about me? Like, what's my side? What have I done that's caused problems, that's kind of driven my wife away? So the apology letter is the way to do that. Guys are finding internal peace and strength, even if their wife is having a difficult emotional response. If she's upset, if she's angry, if she seems distant, instead of guys making it all about themselves, and they're realizing, hey, like maybe my wife, everything she does doesn't have to do with me, which is a revelation for a lot of guys, me included. Guys are going on romantic vacations with their wives, enjoying enjoying intimacy as part of that. Super fun to see that happen. For me, like, I had a moment where I went to kiss my wife. We were watching a show with the kids, and like, it's Bedtime Stories, the movie with Adam Sandler, super funny movie. But there was a kiss in the scene, and then I went to kiss my wife, and she kind of like pulled away, and I was like getting mad. But internally, right? Internally bad. But God kind of gave me this analogy of a plant, and how, physical intimacy is kind of like a fruit that comes from a plant, and you have to take care of that plant first. Give it food, give it water, give it sunlight. Make sure it's taken care of, and then that fruit can come. And if you just kind of like try to force the fruit out, or if it's just starting to bud and you force it, right, that's going to kind of ruin the fruit. And I like that analogy. I think that makes sense for a relationship that's it's living, right? Needs certain things to do well, but also like a plant, like part of it's just stuff that's going on outside of you and your relationship, right? That plant's growing, it needs sun. Like, you can't you can't control the sun. Um, it needs things besides you to flourish. So anyway, that was a good analogy from God. Kind of helped me see, the patience, but also like, like maybe in our relationship, my wife just needs some more food. She needs some more water. She needs some more sunlight, right? For fruit to grow. So again, we're going through the book, The Tools by Phil Stutz and Barry Michaels. So far I've gone through the tools, the reversal of desire, which is like going into pain, saying, I love the pain, feeling ourselves pulled through that like a cloud, like going through a cloud of pain. We can apply that to having difficult conversations with our wives, or, saying things that we're kind of worried about saying. We learned about active love, which is whenever we feel anger towards somebody, we can kind of tune into the love around us, feel it in our heart, send it to that person, have it kind of break through that, feel a connection with that person. Something I've been using with my son and his friends. It's been really, really useful. Inner authority, which is when we kind of connect with that shadow side of us. For me, that's like someone's really skinny and weak, and connecting with that, and then like saying to the audience, the crowd, listen to me. But essentially just kind of making peace with that shadow side. Like, hey, the worst that happens is someone sees that, and if I see it myself and I'm okay with it, I'm empowered, right? What I like about this book, it always says you're unstoppable when you can do these things, which is really kind of true. Like, if you're not afraid of pain, if you can love people even when they're not especially lovable, if you can accept yourself and express yourself, whether people accept you or not, right? I mean, that's pretty awesome. We really are unstoppable. And these are really Christian teachings, Christian principles. So what we're talking about today is the grateful flow. And we'll get into that. So right now, right, you might be focused on the problems in your marriage. Maybe there's not as much sex as you would like. Maybe you just don't feel connected. The mental and emotional intimacy isn't really there. Maybe there's been infidelity, yours or hers. Maybe you're talking about separation or already separated, or maybe you're talking about divorce and that's coming up. Um, when all this stuff is happening, it's really easy to get into the negatives, right? And then get kind of stuck in them. To create this kind of negative future in your mind, this worry that's really hard to get out of. In the book, they call it a black cloud, and it does have like its own energy to it. And it kind of takes over, and you're like just seeing the negatives. I've gotten there plenty of times with marriage or with my kids or work or whatever, finance stuff. So the problem is when we really get there, right, that cloud kind of takes over. We start feeling hopeless. We start feeling frustrated, which are not particularly attractive emotions. And then that cloud of negativity, right, starts overpowering all the areas of your life and relationships. When you're really mad at your wife, you're not as nice to your kids. At least for me, it's like that. Or you're not as caring at work or that kind of thing. So it's like a cloud that blocks out the sun is the way the book puts it. The sun's there. There's good stuff happening. We just can't see it. It's blocked out. Or like it is like a downward spiral. You start thinking all those negatives, you go down, 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 and it ends up in a bad spot. It's a problem, right? Because we feel bad when we're in that spot. It's not attractive. You also can't really problem solve because you're in a fight or flight mode, or just looking at the negatives. You can't see the positives. So what do we do instead? So instead what we can do is gratitude. And, it's like, oh, yeah, Mike, I've heard that before. But the way that I liked how this book talked about it was it's really just like believing God has our best interests at heart and kind of like looking around us and tuning into that and seeing, oh, like everything isn't bad. Like there is the sun shining down on me. Like God is there and around me and wants what's good for me. So yeah, it's really just kind of listing out a few things you're grateful for. When I was kind of thinking about doing this podcast today, I went out and just walked around the neighborhood and just kind of felt that gratitude that there's air around me, that I live in a neighborhood that I love, that we have a nice backyard, that, there are birds chirping and it was a beautiful day out, sunny. The car I drive, I really like. I like my work. And even as I'm saying that, right, like it talks about this grateful flow where it kind of takes over and you're kind of in it and seeing all the good stuff God's doing. It just kind of carries you in this good way. Okay. So to get into this state though, I think it doesn't have to be necessarily related to your marriage. So, it could say, well, just think about the positives about your wife when you're just really upset that she, for example, had an affair. Okay. It's going to be kind of tough to do that and kind of doesn't really acknowledge the pain, which doesn't work especially well if you just like, oh, well, it's fine. Let me just think about the positives. Well, I guess, she only cheated with one guy. It could have been 10 guys. Like that frame of mind doesn't work especially well. Usually it just kind of papers over the hurt. But this gratitude, we could just do it in a way that's not related to our wife. So you're thinking about the affair, oh, my life's over, right? And all this. If you can break out of that and kind of think, okay, well, what are some things I can be grateful for? Okay, I can walk. I'm not paralyzed, right? I, have a job. I'm grateful for that. The sun's shining. I grew up in a good spot. I had a family that cared. And you just start going there like, okay, like maybe God is not totally against me, right? Maybe not everything in my life is terrible. Getting into nature, I think, really helps do this. It helps ground us to God and see the good around us. Again, the air, the trees, the plants, the animals, the food, like how God helps all that work together so we have food to eat, And when we do that, we can see, okay, like, yeah, God is around us and God is supporting us and I'm not alone. He's got me in mind. And yeah, this situation is hard and I'm being supported in a lot of ways too. So it's not, again, not that we pretend like it's not a big deal that our wife doesn't want to have sex with us or whatever, but just kind of seeing, well, there's a lot more going on in my life that I can see and be grateful for. And once we're in that flow, then we can start saying, okay, well, you know what? There are some good things about my wife. She did make me a meal the other day, and it's not all negative, right? So it starts to get into a life of its own. This positivity, this gratitude, right? And that's what the book calls the grateful flow. Again, let's see, it's not all bad. And then what it lets you do, though, is lets you start problem solving from a more solid place, right? So if your wife's not having sex with you as much as you'd like, right, you can say, okay, well, you know, God's supporting me, God's around me. There's a lot of good things in my life. This is one area that I would like to change. What can I do about that, right? And now God can kind of help you and guide you to more of a solution, right? So to trying to understand your wife better, for example, what is it? What's going on with her that maybe she's not really interested? Using my voice more. Well, how can I be clear to her that this is something important to me? And the ability to see your options, maybe options you didn't see before that God could kind of point out to you. Another thing I think God helps us do is find the right people to help us when we're in that great gratitude state, kind of guide us to people that can help us get through it. So, if this podcast is calling to you, the program might be, something that we could help you with your marriage problems, right? So why does this work? We get out of that black cloud. In the book, it has like a cloud, and then the gratitude kind of like opens a hole in the cloud so the sun can come through. And it's a good analogy. I like it. So you break through, right? You start feeling better. You start feeling more grateful. You start feeling more attractive. You get out of that fight or flight mode, out of anger, out of frustration. Brings your thinking brain back online so you can kind of problem solve. And then I think the biggest thing about it is it brings God into your life, right? It recognizes God in your life more, okay? And really tunes you into what God has for you. It's not like, hey, God's against me, God hates me, my wife's mean, that's not fair. It's like, no, there's a lot of good things going on. I've got some issues in my marriage, and God can help me with that too, right? Let me be grateful for the things that I have. So it's about tuning into this power bigger than yourself. That's what I've liked about this book. For us as Christians, we call that God, and we connect to God in that way. So yeah, like we don't have to do it on our own. Okay, when we're in that black cloud, we don't have to just like yank ourselves out of it. We pray, we guide our thoughts to what God's doing that we can be grateful for, and that can open things up and let us start to problem solve with God instead of trying to do it all on our own. So what do you need to do? You need spiritual strength. You need to take time and space to tune in and plug into God's power. You need training in hearing God's voice to do that. Practice, right? You need mental strength, the ability to look at your thoughts. Is this thought very useful? Is this getting me where I want? We do a lot of that work in the program. You need emotional strength to allow your emotions, release them, right? Not get so caught up in them that you do problematic things or try to escape them, which often leads to even more problematic things. You need communication skills, be able to talk to your wife, listen to her, get to win-wins. Intimacy skills, bring that fun, flirting passion back. So those are things you need, and we teach all that, and we do it together in Strong Men, Strong Marriages, and we'd love to have you with us. So visit strongmen.io. You can join the email list there. If you're a guy making $250,000 or more a year, there's an intensive program that's for guys like you that want more one-on-one attention and a more intensive experience to help you really, make these changes in a hurry because you're getting daily coaching and feedback to help you do it. So we'd love to have you. Again, visit strongmen.io. Join the email list, fill out an application if you're in that $250,000 or more a year range. Stay strong in God, men. We'll see you next episode.